Hello everyone, my name is Oluwafemilola Feyintola Ojediran. I'm here to talk about the role and responsibility of a registered nurse. The NHS was founded in 1948 after publication of NHS Acts in 1948. In the past, the nurses were trained on the job in the hospital where they were regarded as assistant to nurses. Most time then they were trained along with them working, they were trained on the job, they're working and at the same time they were being trained while they're working. And they were getting all the skills they needed then right from when they were working, getting to learn all the necessary things required of them while they are working. Shortly after the introduction of the NHS, the nurse education was stripped from the hospital and moved into universities, transforming the career into all graduates profession. Nurses were taught to encourage their patients to lead healthier and quality lives. They came about this came about after the government statistics revealed many patients were suffering with preventable illness related to poor lifestyle choices. That is, they're trying to train the nurses, the assistant doctors, how to be compassionate and how to really show some kind of concern, a lot of care to this clients and or service users in in the hospital and in homes, in residential homes. And one particular thing that is not common that people should understand is care and passion. Care and passion are quality that cannot be taught, not even in your homes or in schools. They are something that has to do, they are qualities that are naturally gifted, and they are part of you and they are just whom you are. So when you have passion doing something, it comes so easily and it helps your interest in the job. And basically it helps the job as well, as in working with others and helping others to live a better life. The evolving roles of a registered nurse, multiple policies and legislations were introduced and updated after 1990, which impacted the role of registered nurses, patients, and the wider community as a whole. Starting with the NHS and Community Care Act in 1990, which gave nurses more responsibility for business procedures and budgets, including management. As a result, NHS hospital and trusts, community trust, learn to manage themselves from within. They tend to manage themselves from within. And in between 1992 and 1999, the Department of Health reviewed policies, gave nurses right to prescribe medication for minor illness and injury in palliative care roles. Presently now, when you go to lot of homes, you witness the associate nurse, assistant nurse, nurses giving out medication after they were being trained and acquire a lot of trainings. And when they're fit to say, when they say that they are fit enough to, they are well trained, they are well trained for the job to be able to give out medication, because medication is very, very important. And they, moving forward, in year 2000, prescribing nurses were working in accident and emergency. departments and GP practice. In 2003, the government added 60 drugs for diabetes and asthma, which was later introduced in 2002. That is, for our patients with diabetes, nurses can give them prescribed medications to them, while uh, clients with asthma as well, nurses can prescribe medication to them rather than waiting on doctors or high senior consultants to give them medications. So the Modernization Agencies was founded in 2001 to redesign and expand the role and skill of health professionals. And also in 2010, the NMC, Nursing and Midwife Council, was founded and was founded and they and these are the standard that the nurses should respond to, should follow. The NMC, they have a standard the nurses has to follow. The expectation, what they expected from nurses, they have their roles, they have the what's it called, they have a way of coordinating in such a way that nurses will not violate the rules, they will not go, out, do things out of their job. And mainly with NMC, they're able to make them, the nurses, to be focused and to be aware that when they do anything that goes wrong, the license can be seized, or the job can, something that can jeopardize, the job can be jeopardized in a way with. So that is the main reason why NMC was introduced, to give a standard that is expected of the nurses, the doctors. And in 2003, clinical commissioning group were introduced to improve quality of care. CCG replaced primary care trust and become responsible for commissioning of primary services. In 2020, the government cleared over 13 billion of NHS debts to keep the NHS debt free and all emergency responses during COVID-19, and also to develop the infrastructure. Also in 2020, the government pledged to train 5,000 new nurses and confirmed that 40 hospitals will be built by 2030. And some of this, as part of the training, the government pledged or promised to, provide, was the opportunity of bringing in external nurses from other countries, external doctors, external support workers, and all of that, just to come into the UK to support the NHS, to help the NHS grow, to support the NHS in in the hospital jobs. He also confirmed that 40 hospitals will be built by 2030, which is still ongoing. The new nursing roles are advanced nurse practitioners. Those were the new grades of nurses. We have advanced ones now, apart from senior. In those days, we say we have senior nurse, but now we have the new roles where they are being placed now. We have the advanced nurse practitioners, we have the emergency care practitioners, we have clinical nurse specialists. These were created to increase efficiency, support career progression, reduce waiting time, just to reduce the waiting time and to improve patient outcome. What this means is this: a lot of times, just after the COVID, a lot of people has been like, oh, we've been on queue trying to call on to the doctor to see the doctor. We've been like in the hospital, the queue was too long, the time taken was much, and all of that, and we could not even see doctor after being after 2 days. We could not see doctor after some days, after being on the queue for quite a long time, and still we're still not able to be like get in touch with doctor to get someone to give to attend to us. So what the government is trying to do in this sense is to like to let us have all these senior emergency care practitioners that could like come in between of like you waiting to see a doctor. They come in to see you, talk to you, and see if really that can really help you at that particular time. It's to save your time, to improve the patient's outcome, and also the waiting time. So the NMC Council, a regulatory body, like I said earlier, for nurses, midwife, and the main purpose was to register midwives and health to maintain health visitors. They are to maintain health visitors. They are to train them, let them know what their rights, know what they are meant to do, and what they are not meant to do. So that is the purpose of the NMC. So newly qualified nurses must meet new qualified nurses must meet the NMC eligibility requirements to take the test. Of competence. Yes. Before you join the NMC, you have to take the test of competence. Either way, sometimes if you're coming from abroad, when you get to UK, you must take the test of competence just for them to be sure you know exactly what you're doing. If you're fit enough to be a nurse, if you're fit enough to you qualify to work in UK as a nurse. So those were the things that you have to do. Test of competence when you are in UK. Once that is done, applicant must now register to take a test with Pearson. You take a test with Pearson, but I think in this, or just of recent, is there in the news that the government is trying to waive some of these things just to fast track the number of times or year you spend going through nursing school and going for the training. So after that, you've registered with the test with the person, then you sit for the test, and when you are qualified, then NMC will have to register you, and then they are well assured that you are qualified to be a nurse. 2006, nurse has been registered, has been regulated. Oh yeah, in 2006, the nurses were asked to come fill a form to show that they are fit enough to work. And as such, the regulation body, the NMC, requested that the union must be renewed every 3 years. When you have your NMC this year, when you are registered as a nurse this year under NMC, after 3 years, you have to go back and renew it. And By so doing, they will check if you're fit, you are still liable to work as a nurse, if you're still very competent to be a nurse and to work as a nurse in UK. So all these things were things that are being monitored by NMC. And after that, they have a code, NMC code. The code contains the professional standard that the registered nurses, the nurses have their code. They have their code, and that code is a code of like a life. If you do anything against your job, that code is just going to be jeopardized. And when you are working, when you remember this code, you just know you have to do things right. And that is the reason why the NMC has that code, which contains the professional standard that registered nurses, midwives, and nursing associates. And this is to hold NMC registered nurses to account, to hold registered nurses to account. Yes, to hold registered nurses to account for their actions, and especially when fall short of their professional standards. I said it earlier, the code is written in law. I said it earlier, when you remember, just like your driver's license, you know that when you have your driver's license, your international, your UK driver's license, you know that you don't have to drink while you are driving. You know all the pros and cons when you are having that driver's license. So the same thing is applicable to you when you have this code under NMC. When you fall short of your profession, you should know what that means. And so you have to hold it so tight, work like a qualified and a very competent nurse that you are expected of. So poor staffing, we learned that could be some of the reasons, some of the reasons why some of the reasons why. So now we're talking about communication. Yeah, communication skills are very, very paramount. You should be able to communicate in a way that you will be well understood. To speak the English or whatever, in a way that people around you will understand you, and you should be able to communicate well and relate well with others when working. That is the major reason why communication is paramount. This comprises after this encompasses communicating in a way which can be understood with the language needs of the patient and their family, and importantly, being culturally sensitive at all times. Nurses are required to obtain and record consent, which in both for informed and understood, and should explain to people about how the information will be used. When you work in an hospital or in a care home and you are with a service user, you should be able to communicate in a way that they will understand you. Your body language, your facial, expression, everything has to be in a manner that people around you will be able to relate well with you, to understand you, to know exactly what you are trying to do or what we're trying to say. And you should do it with all manners of sincerity. Show love to people. Let people around you know that you care so much about them. And once again, we talk about the multidisciplinary teamwork are fantastic for patient outcome for many reasons. For example, cross-fertilization of idea, professional knowledge and expertise can be shared. This collaboration of skills, knowledge, and expertise all contribute to meeting holistic needs of the patient. Thank you very much. I think with all this, I've been able to explain to you the importance of the roles and the responsibility of a registered nurse. A registered nurse have to be very caring person, someone with good morals, someone that have passion for the job. You shouldn't be a carer or a nurse and be rude to everyone or be nasty. You just have to be a loving and caring people, and at the same time be able to speak polite words politely to people and encourage people in whatever they do. Thank you. God bless.